Another method for interacting with your users is to use the input box. Now, as opposed to the MSG box that can only ask for a single response of clicking one of the buttons effectively, the input box will provide the user with a white space for them to type a response in. So that could be asking for a value, could be asking for a range, could be asking for their name, could be asking for any bit of text value really. So how can we create an input box? Well, we're going to use the input box file, which is actually empty for the moment. And in the Visual Basic, we already have a module 1 ready for us to create our first input box sub procedure. So sub input ask. Now the syntax for an input box is that you will need a variable to hold the response. The response will always be text, even if it's a numeric value. We have to do a little bit of work to check if you're just after numbers, but for the moment we need a little variable. So I'm going to say dim x as string. Value they'll always return is returned into a string variable. And then we say x equals input box, very similar to the message box syntax, open brackets, and you can see there we have prompt. So that's what are we going to ask them? What is your name? Comma, a title. This will go across the top of the input box, the same as the title went across as the message box. Just a moment. And then we have a few optional parameters, such as the default. So we can always place a value into the box that they're going to type in. For the moment, we'll just keep the two values. What is your name? And just a moment. And then we're going to take the value that they give to us and place it in A1 so we can see what they've given us. And then let's run this from the immediate window. So you can see this is now an input box. There's your title. There's the prompting text. You always get an OK or a cancel button. So they can actually click cancel, and we'll have to build into our procedure what to do if they click cancel. And if they type the name in and OK. Appears to have worked. When we go back to the sheet, we can see it's put Guy Vaccaro into A1. So it's a straightforward input box. Prompting text so people know what they're supposed to be typing in. Title for the input box itself, and potentially a default value. That then gets stored in a variable that is always a string variable, and then we then interrogate that or do with it as we feel fit. Now the first thing we need to be able to check for is if they've clicked the cancel button. So if x equals nothing, so effectively empty, then let's write a message box out to say that. Else, put that in the else part. So if x is equal to nothing, then you clicked cancel. Else, we'll put whatever they typed in into range 1. So input ask, what is your name? They click cancel, and a message box comes back with you clicked cancel. Notice I placed no title there, so you get Microsoft Excel. If they do click OK, I still get cancel because they actually put nothing in the box. So that same little if is actually catching two potential situations. So they didn't click cancel, they just left the box empty. Because you cannot assume that the empty string is because they clicked cancel and not that they just clicked OK with nothing in there, then your message should reflect that. So I can't really say you clicked cancel because I don't know that. I just know that I've got an empty string back. So I can only say something like, you have not answered the question. Because they haven't, either by clicking cancel or by not filling the box in and clicking OK. Now if I want numeric values back from the input box, perhaps change this. What is your age? If they click nothing or cancel, I'll get the empty string, so I'm going to leave that as it is. And then in the else, I need to check whether they've actually put a numeric value in. So if is numeric, which is a function we've seen before, x, then we're good to go. We can put into range A, into A1, and their actual age into B1. Indent those so they're underneath that same if, so that I can match my end if. So what is your age? If it's an empty string, we get that message out because they've either clicked OK with nothing in or they've clicked cancel. Else, let's check to see if it's a number. If it's a number, then great. I'm going to say your age is, and then put the value of their age. And we really have an else here, which will be another message box saying you must answer with a number. So let's try that out. What is your age? I leave it empty and click OK. I get you've not answered the question. Run it again. Guy in there. OK. You must answer with a number. Let's run it again. What is your age? 44. OK. No errors. When we go back to Excel, we see it's put your age colon and 44 in B1. So although we have to accept a string value back from the input box, we can still check to see if it's a numeric value because that's maybe what we're after, and then go ahead and carry out whatever actions and functions we need to do. With lots of little else's in here to catch the empty string and to catch the fact that they haven't put a numeric value in. So that's the input box function. Takes a question, which is the prompting question the person will see, title for the input box, and you can even add a default value. Let's go add one here, put a comma, 0. That way when we run the input box, you see it already puts a default value of 0 into what is your age. That way if they do click nothing and click OK, it will take them back through and actually say your age is 0, because we've not defined any error there. So that's quite a good way of actually error trapping in this case, because we could ask if it's numeric and then put another if embedded in there, say if it's equal to 0, then we put a message box out to say they haven't answered the question, because effectively they've just taken the default. Nobody would be using the computer if they were age 0. So this is a nice little way of picking up single values from people to then use to determine what you're going to carry out and do next.